Even I'm getting confused. If you haven't done something like this on your post knocker, you really should. It's gonna make life so easy for us and it's gonna grow so much grass. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are off to Thornton to improve some of our grazing infrastructure. Hopefully it'll make us grow a bit more grass and it'll make life a lot easier for us. I'm not gonna go on about it too much. I'll let the video explain. Now you might remember back when I was over here hedge cutting that I mentioned we were going to put some lanes in for rotational grazing. So me and Dad have come up here now to actually start and do it before we start carving. And it's been a bit of a mathematical headache to try and get this to work, because obviously we need to have paddocks over here, a lane along here, one along the other side, so that we can get all the cows back to these drinking places. So there's one here, there's one just a bit further up on the other side of this hedge. Some of you mentioned that we should use some solar powered pumps for the water and get the water around. The only issue we have with that is you can't tell, but from here on that hedge there's a footpath, and it's a very busy footpath. It's a footpath called the Leicestershire Round, and it's very popular with walkers, and we get stuff nicked from over here. And we thought if we put a solar powered pasture pump over here, either the pump will get nicked or the panel will get nicked or it'll get broken. So we thought this is just the best way. It's a bit more work but a bit more foolproof. And if you don't believe me that it would get stolen, there's a footpath gate just by that double pylon up there. And when I came hedge cutting the other year, someone had walked either a mile and a half from Thornton or a couple of miles from Markfield in that direction with a spanner and stole the gate hinge. So, you know, we've got a lot to contend with over here. So the idea, obviously there's the water. We're gonna go about 25 meters, I'm thinking.
I'm only at 13.
Oh, he's at 13 and he's contemplating that he's wrong. We're gonna leave a lane up here and we're going to do that same distance all the way along, and then we've marked where the fence will go to on that hedge, and then when we get down here and we get to the right points, we're going to put a gateway in, and we can fold that gateway back then to that hedge, if this makes sense, so that every paddock can get into the lane. Even I'm getting confused. You're watching this and you're thinking none of this makes much sense. We have actually drew a bit of a map out. So look, have a look at this. This is the field we're in. So here's the drinking place where we are there. That's just there. So what we're going to do is we're going to have these fences here, and this is going to be the lane along here. These purple fences, they're going to be ran out as we move the cows. So they're just going to be movable wire on a reel like this. And then we're going to have the permanent fence along this grey line here. So we're going to come along and fence to here, where we'll have another gateway that should swing round and connect back to the back fence over there, and then so on and so forth. Now this map was drawn obviously from one of the farm maps that we've got, but what I've also done, just to make it even more complicated, is I went on Google Earth and then I've mapped it out on Google Earth as well, so we know pretty much exactly to the landmark. We can look and we can be like, okay, right, we need it coming down from that tree to whatever point on this edge. So we have a bit of a more of a technical idea. And what we've tried to do is get every paddock about the same size across the whole block, so that when we move them, it's easier.
And it needs to work, else I'll be late for my breakfast.
Yeah, it needs to work. Or else he'll be late for his breakfast every day. Dad's just come up with another smart idea. He's just doing that one, so I'll show you this one. But obviously on these gateways, because these fences are going to move, because they're going to be the gate handles to let the cows in and out of each paddock, what we've done is we've used these, I think they're called egg insulators, so they're like this, you can see them, and we've put them on the wire that's going to move along there. But what we've done is we've attached them with a couple of loose staples, so that when we take that wire and we bring it round, it won't drop, it will just spin on that staple, and it'll almost act like a hinge then, and that's what we'll do for each of the gateways. Should, in theory, make life easier, but I suppose we won't know until we start using it. And if you are wondering as well, we're just using a medium tensile wire. It's not a high tensile wire, because if we're using high tensile, although I love using that for permanent electric fencing, we'd have to put strainers on all of these posts and proper gateways in, and it would have been a real big job. And if this doesn't work, we can take this down really easy, whereas a high tensile is a bit more difficult. Right, and that's this side done. Doesn't look much, but I'll fly you down it with the drone in a minute so you can have a look at it properly. The big gaps are all going to be where there's gateways, and the rest of it is just fencing. And I know that this part of the field, this lane, is going to get a little bit more traffic, and it's probably going to get a bit overgrazed and whatever else. But the theory is, if we let them kind of wear this bit out, that bit will get more rest and it will get more grass and it'll do better. To be quite honest, we reckon we've historically overgrazed this for years. If you look just here as well, you'll see there's some like cow muck from last year that's just not gone, and that's one of the signs that you've overgrazed your ground, because if you overgraze it, the soil biology isn't there to take all of that muck and break it down and pull it back into the soil. The other signs are it just doesn't really seem to ever perk up and get a lot of grass, especially on this side. Right at the top, on the top field we do, but not down here. This has only been rotational graze for one season. We've been doing it longer at home, but out here we couldn't really work out how to do it, especially when we first started and we didn't have all the gear. So it had last season as rotational graze, but obviously with that drought, it kind of, although it saved our bacon a little bit, it was not the best year for it. So we're hoping that this will help start and mitigate all of those issues that we've got with the overgrazing and so on, and hopefully over time we'll build some fertility back into the soil and we'll get it growing as much grass as what we can. But like I say, the sacrificial bit is this strip down here. But to be fair, this field is 30 odd acres. So, I mean, what's this strip gonna be? 2? It's not a lot to sacrifice really in the grand scheme of things, is it? So now we're gonna go through that side and do the one on the next field. And then I think we'll have to come back another day to finish off. According to my phone, I think the first post is going to want to be here somewhere. I don't know where it is, but there's a faint whiff of chainsaw oil on the wind. Oh, I love that smell. So we've knocked off now for today. We're gonna have to come back tomorrow to finish it. We've done about 3/4 of it, so we've just got the other half to do for Action Fans. And I was just looking because my mum sorted me out with a bottle for water today because I didn't have one. And she got me this, look at this. Jersey milk, a Jersey milk bottle, and it's from a local farm actually. Really good milk. I've been having a bit of Jersey milk in my porridge in the morning because my mum's been doing it for me, which is very nice of her. So thank you, Mum. The other thing I'm gonna have to do when I get back as well is sort all the old crappy posts that we've pulled up and got out of the way out of the trailer and put in some more new ones, because yeah, we're running a bit low. I don't think we would have been able to finish it even if we had had enough time. Yeah, I'll just restock when I get back and get ready for tomorrow. honest, I should have said this before now, but these posts are awesome. They're a bit bigger than what I was hoping for. I wanted the 5'6" ones. These are 6 foot long, but I've got these from Pasture Tech, the guys there sorting me out. Thank you very much to those guys. Check them out if you ever need anything. They do so much stuff. There is a link in the description to their website. They do all your fencing stuff, everything for rotational grazing. Just go check them out. They're a wicked company. But I had to settle for these ones because they were just in the process of moving to a new yard. They have now moved, so shouldn't have a problem. But this is what they had in stock. And I'm not complaining because I'd rather have longer posts than shorter posts. And these are the 15-year guarantee ones as well with the little thing in the top, so they should last. And I probably should have pointed this out by now. You're probably wondering about this contraption. This is something that Dad rigged up years ago. Actually, this is the second one. I killed the first one. But it's got a plate that we've bolted on here. Look, so you've got a plate either side of the frame that's been bolted on with an arm on it. I don't know what that's off. I think it's off an old digger, but I might be wrong. And then we've put a ball hitch on the end of there, and it just goes out past there, and we put the trailer on the back. You know what, it works so good because when you're fencing, you obviously have that swung right round. You can just have your post there, you pick up your post, you step it out, you knock it in. It's brilliant, honestly. If you haven't done something like this on your post knocker, you really should, because it just makes life so much easier. Right, I'm gonna go and put this away, and then we'll see what tomorrow brings. So it's day 2 at Thornton, and we've just finished rigging the wire up on the post that we knocked in yesterday afternoon. It's actually quite nice now. We got here about half an hour ago and it was pretty horrible back then. It was just starting to rain, it was cold, it was cloudy, but the sun's come out and it's warm. I said to Dad, something that was really interesting is, obviously as I mentioned yesterday, there's not a huge amount of grass growth here, but round this water trough, you can see that there's quite a lot of grass, but there's one other thing here as well. There's loads of molehills, and the same thing on the watering trough, the other side of this hedge as well. And the reason for that is because obviously the cows all come for water all the time. There gets a lot of muck on this little area just here. It makes the grass grow, it improves the soil health. But one sign of good soil health is, unfortunately, molehills, because it means there's loads of worms in this area. If you look across the rest of the field, you're not going to see any molehills. So we've now got this bit all rigged up, and this one's a little bit of a headache because this water has to also feed that top field up there. We've had to make 4 paddocks along here, but this middle paddock is actually bigger because that's going to have a lane in it when they're actually grazing up on the top as well. Dad's just gone for a look round the hedge, so we're going to put some markers along the hedgerows as well, so we know where to run fences to, and we're going to go and check the posts. Because we're here for an extra day, it's actually worked out quite well, because it means that we can check all the perimeter fence while we're doing all these fences, and it means that we should then be done over here, so when we start carving, which will be fairly imminent, we can just get on with it. We haven't got to worry about getting out here carving. We can just bring some cows out as soon as we need to. I also realised that I forgot to show you the map of how this plan works. So I'll show you the map of this one and the next field that we're going to do, and then explain to you how we've done it and why we've done it, how we've done it, because that probably make a little bit more sense, because it's difficult for you guys if you don't know the fields to actually be able to understand exactly what we're doing. But I'm hoping if I show you on that map, it should make sense, although it kind of sometimes doesn't make that much sense to me. Dad's just found a post that he's doing on the perimeter fence just here.
The same what that is, yeah.
Dad was just telling me about this hedgerow here, because it's one of the better hedgerows over here. It's really thick, but he was saying that when he was just about left school, so sort of 16 years old, my granddad came over here whilst he was lambing and he laid this hedge because it was really gappy. When he got here, it was that bad that he didn't lay it. They just sawed it all off at the bottom and coppiced it. They back fenced it with some netting and then put a barbed wire front fence and just let it grow up and then cut it. Look how thick that is now, because we were discussing this one up here, because that one really needs doing. It's an awful hedge and it's one of the weakest points. We've got a fence up there, and obviously we keep the fence good, but they get out sometimes. So we're thinking we're going to have to do that, and we're hoping that we can get that on a scheme or something. I was saying when I was down the bottom as well about how we were putting these marker posts, or markers on the post should I say, so that we know where to run the fences to. And he's just got these bits of white barrel, and then he'll nail them to the posts when he's found his hammer. When he's at the other end, he knows where he's aiming for and where he needs to start to get the paddocks the right size. We've done the same sort of thing at home and it works pretty well. So it just makes life a little bit easier, because obviously if you've got to run a fence all the way down there, you can't see very well where the posts are, but you'll see a marker. So So I said yesterday I'll show you how this all worked, and I completely forgot, and I just had to scramble to get them because they were flying away. The fence on the middle field, as you can see, here is the drinking place. So what we've done is we've created 4 paddocks, but this one here is actually a larger paddock because this paddock will have a lane in it at some point when they're grazing this field that we're currently fencing now, which is this piece of paper, which actually is that way around. So we're currently up here and there's a gateway here. So when you're grazing here, the gateway is there. Now all of these paddocks on all of these fields are all about the same sort of size. Idea being that we can move them every 2 days. There'll be 13 paddocks across the whole lot, so we won't quite get a 4-week rotation, but we're thinking of not stocking it quite so hard, so it shouldn't matter too much either way. And each one of them paddocks is not quite 2 hectares. I think they're 1.85-ish, except for the bigger one, which is the one that's through that gate there, which is 2.2, because we gave that one a little bit extra because it'll have that grazing lane in that won't really grow as much grass as the rest of it. And there we have it, look. Last of these lanes done. Honestly, if this works, this is going to be absolutely brilliant. It's going to make life so easy for us, and it's going to grow so much grass. This field up here, this is the top field. This tends to grow more grass anyway. All we've got to do now is we've got to go finish putting those little markers on the posts on the opposite sides, and then we've got to go down to the brook line down the bottom because there's a bit of barbed wire fence down there that needs doing, and hopefully we won't be too late back, which would be nice. Last job for Thornton is to put a new barbed wire fence around this part here. So there's a brook line in there, and the calves were jumping it down in the bottom last year. So we've got 1 barbed wire around, we're going to run a second one. We're just rigging ourselves up now. We've had a bit of a conflab about how we're going to do it, but we've got a big long bar with us, so we can put the long bar up the centre of this roll of barbed wire and then run it out, because we've got to walk it through that bit down the bottom there, down that dip, and it's kind of wet, so it's going to be some bit of fun, I think. And that's the extra strand of barbed wire all done. You can see it runs through there. Hopefully that'll keep them in now. We've got 1 more hedge to go and check, and I think, if I remember correctly from when I was hedge cutting, I don't think there's a lot up there, so we should be all right. It's getting dark now, so hopefully we'll be back, get the jobs done, and that'll be us for another day. Oh, and while I think about it, the week that this video goes out, we've been TB testing. We've had to do a test 6 months after going clear. Apparently it's one of the new rules that we have to abide by. We've done that test, and I'm going to do a little video, a short one, a little Boldies bonus, to let you know how we've got on. Hopefully everything's been fine and we've gone clear, then we'll stay clear and go back to 12 monthly testing. But I'll let you know all of that in my little Boldies bonus video. Anyway, whatever you're up to this weekend, guys, have a great one. I'm sure it's going to be brilliant. Look after yourselves, stay safe, see you in a bit. Ta-da!